What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. And we have gotten the news earlier this week that, in my opinion, the best fight in the entire time that I've been a UFC fan is finally scheduled for August 16th, DDP versus Khamzat. Khamzat's first shot ever to finally get a title, something that Khamzat fans have been waiting for since 2020. He was teed up, if you remember, to fight Leon Edwards. That fight fell apart 3 times. I think if he would have beaten Leon Edwards back then, he would have gotten a title shot against Kamaru Usman back in 2021 is likely what would have happened. I think he would have been champ this entire time. But that never happened. Khamzat got extremely sick, almost retired at one point, or claimed to be thinking or considering retirement. That didn't happen. He stayed in the mix, and he's been around, moving up weight classes, and still never really getting that shot, wanting it, calling out for it on multiple occasions. Finally, he's getting it now. Now, some of the reasons why, or some of the things that have gotten in the way of his title shot have been these purported visa issues that seems to now be resolved as this fight is happening in Chicago. Let's go. People have been talking about his health issues. He got thyroid surgery. I mentioned that in another video, and that seems to have really boosted his immunity and immune system, which was really impacted after he got COVID back in 2020. He has been training in the mountains of Russia. He was also getting some issues training in Abu Dhabi and Dubai in the UAE because of the heat. This is in Khamzat's words based on an interview. So he has fixed and remedied a lot of the issues that were holding him down, that a lot of people were citing as, oh, he's just never going to be able to be a champ or a reliable champ, or he can't fight in the US, blah, 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 nonsense. Or maybe it wasn't nonsense at the time, but now it's all nonsense. And now we are finally here. Khamzat is ready to get his crack at the title. Now, do I think this is a foregone conclusion? Obviously not. I've made multiple videos praising DDP, although I know some folks get upset when I talk about the matchup, because if you're a hardcore DDP fan, you know, of course, even though I am a big fan of DDP, massive fan of DDP, but when he's going against Khamzat, my favorite fighter, obviously I'm going to be picking and rooting for Khamzat Chimaev. So I am beyond excited for this fight. It's the most excited I've ever been for a fight to take place, and I can't wait to see what happens. I do believe Khamzat will get the job done, but I wanted to highlight a couple of fighters and YouTubers chiming in on the topic already, just to give you guys a feel for what the sentiment is about this fight. Now, the odds did drop. I think as of now, Khamzat Chimaev is a -170, and those are very close odds. But who I'm really waiting for to chime in eventually is Robert Whittaker and Kamaru Usman. I can't wait to see what they say. Kamaru Usman obviously has fought Khamzat. Robert Whittaker would, of course, be the best source for information on this front because he's fought both Khamzat and DDP. I cannot wait to hear what he has to say on this front. I think that will be really telling. On top of that, Robert Whittaker is just a tremendous analyst when it comes to all this stuff. Okay, now let's get into the mix. First, we have Darren Till, who just appeared on Ariel Helwani's show. Now, he's talked mercilessly about DDP and very negatively about them, but he actually does give him his flowers here a little bit in terms of saying, hey, he says, like, he basically admits that DDP is actually good despite the fact that he looks non-traditional. But listen to Darren Till's commentary here. Now, of course, this is going to be biased towards Khamzat because him and Khamzat are very, very good friends. So you have to take it with a grain of salt, but we're going to start off with this little clip. Check it out.
Even my body type's changed. Even like if I went back to the UFC now, I was the middleweight I could be. I'd fucking tear that Dricus' head off. Tell Dricus I said fuck him, by the way. The
Why?
little fucking gobshite. Because I can't stand his guts because he's so shit. He's so good.
You think he beats Khamzat, your boy?
No, look, I'm with respect, I'm never going to look past Dricus because he trains hard. He's super dedicated. He's super strong, and he's got that awkward style that doesn't make any sense. I think Khamzat will beat him inside the 2 rounds. I really do believe that. But look, Khamzat knows. I was speaking to Khamzat on the FaceTime the other day because I'm meant to be going out to Dubai to help with the camp. Khamzat knows it's a tough fight, but you know, Khamzat trains like a beast. I do think Khamzat gets it in 2 rounds done. Do you know what I'm saying?
By the way, you're looking svelte.
As a Khamzat fan, that makes me really happy to hear that Khamzat is taking it extremely seriously. I know Darren Till talks this way about DDP all the time, saying he's crap and whatnot, but he's obviously doing it in jest. I don't think he really means it. And the fact that Khamzat as well is saying, hey, I know it's a tough fight, that makes me more confident that he's going to put in the work and put in the training to get this job done. By the way, at the end of this video, after I show these different clips, I want to remind you or encourage you to go back and watch the Derek Brunson fight, because I think that's going to give us some, not complete indication of what's going to happen, but I think it is quite telling in terms of what I think we can expect to see. And by the way, Darren Till says within 2 rounds. That's what I said too, within 2 rounds as well. I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to get the job done. All right, now listen to MMA Guru and Mighty Mouse talking about this matchup as well. MMA Guru, though, is of course friends with DDP. He's visited DDP. He's interviewed him before. So now you have to take this with a grain of salt. Of course, MMA Guru is going to back DDP, but I think that's telling because he has a lot of hesitation and doubt in this pick, obviously because Khamzat is such a force to be reckoned with. So check this out.
Another match I'm excited about is your boy, the King of Africa, DDP, taking on Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about that one?
I was going to say, Tom Aspinall, the King of Africa. I don't know. Dude.
No, come on now. Come on. I know,
your boy,
I know my geography, all right? I know where people go.
DDP. I don't know anymore, man. These guys are, I used to think, you know what, DDP's got him. And I still think that, dude, he might just be too strong to be muscled around like this.
Yeah.
But Chimaev is truly on a different level.
I think DDP beats him.
I think he could, and I am leaning that way.
Yeah.
But now I'm real.
Yeah.
You know, I also want DDP to win, but I'm leaning towards DDP.
Yeah.
Because I think the idea of Chimaev is a round 1 guy.
Yeah.
You know? If he takes...
And you're going to keep hearing this narrative. Chimaev is round 1, or Chimaev can't last 5 rounds, or Chimaev doesn't have cardio. I'm going to address that after we listen to this clip. And I've also got a couple clips from Michael Bisping. I'm going to address these cardio issues. I feel like this is a false news narrative, just like the visa issues. I mean, maybe it was an issue at one point, but of course people continue to push this false notion even after the recent election in the U.S., which I think most people assumed once that election went the way it did, Khamzat was going to have no issues whatsoever. That seems to have been proven true. But anyways, I'm going to talk about this because this is just a lot of false news that I think it's an idea or a notion that gets propagated for particular reasons, but I'm going to dispel those reasons later on. Anyways, let's keep listening.
Out DDP in round 1.
If
he's got him.
This is my hot take. If Chimaev cannot get him down,
he will. But yeah.
But let's say he does get him down.
Yep.
And he doesn't finish him, right? I think he's spent. Because you look at his fights. You look when he fought Gilbert Burns, when he fought Kamaru Usman. He had Kamaru Usman fully fucking mounted, back hooks and everything, right?
Yep.
Working for the choke, pounding him, could not finish him.
Couldn't get him.
The rest of the time, he could not find it was shadow boxer. Granted, he might be sick or whatever.
Yep.
But if he cannot figure it out with
he just said it. He actually knows his stuff. So Chimaev was sick in that DDP fight. A lot of people don't know that. And I mean, not DDP fight, in the Kamaru Usman fight. And by the way, not only was he sick, he said in an interview that because he was sick and he knew his cardio was compromised, that his plan was to go out there intentionally fast, like a bat out of hell, and get the finish in round 1. So that's why he was trying to finish him so quickly, because he didn't think he'd be able to last the 3 rounds because he was fighting a severe illness. That being said, he still lasted all 3 rounds. When people say Kamaru Usman nearly won that 3rd round and came on strong in the later rounds, there's a reason as to why that happened. So again, this goes against that narrative that Khamzat doesn't have cardio. It's fake news, but I'm impressed that Mighty Mouse actually knew that and brought that up here. And one other thing I want to mention too is you listen to MMA Guru, you know he wants DDP to win, and there's an argument to be made that DDP can win, but even you can see the look of concern and worry in MMA Guru's face when he talks about it. And the other thing that he mentioned, which is really interesting, they addressed this later in the podcast, but he's like, yeah, if you can't get DDP down, and MMA Guru's like, he's going to get him down. MMA Guru later says, the way to fight Chimaev is you have to accept that you will be taken down. You can't just try and fight it. Just accept it and take it on your own terms. So you're saying, I'm inviting the takedown. I've just got a strategy to get back up. Now, he's not a fighter, but I think he's really dialed into the sport. You see, if you watch this full interview, Mighty Mouse gives him a lot of credit and props for being so knowledgeable about fighting and fight strategy. And I think it's, again, by virtue of the fact that MMA Guru is fully immersed into the sport to a degree and a level that I don't think anybody can rival. So props to him for gaining this amazing expertise. But anyways, so even MMA Guru says, nah, he's going to get him down. And I agree. Once again, I think that idea would be reinforced if you watch the Derek Brunson fight, which I'm going to touch on at the end of the video. But let me finish out this clip and then we'll move on.
In those first 2 rounds, or the first round he gets him down, I think DDP is going to do what he does best.
Yep.
He's going to be awkward. He's going to be, do the kicks. And I think DDP is gonna beat him.
Yeah,
Like
I could see it.
I think Khamzat Chimaev is more athletic, more traditional, but I think that awkwardness of the old what did he say? The lanky man style.
Yep.
I think DDP is gonna put in the bag.
I could see it. It's going to be a my turn fight.
Yeah.
Your turn now is my turn.
Yep.
I think if DDP makes it out of, I think DDP will start the first round with, oh shit, you know, here we go. But then if round 2 starts, I can so see an image of like DDP in round 1, DDP in round 2. He'll have a smile on his face in round 2.
No, this could be. And by the way, I'm not obviously so delusional to think that DDP or that, this narrative could not unfold. But I do think it's interesting. Obviously, Mighty Mouse is one of the GOATs. His analysis is incredible. So I have to really give a great amount of deference to his opinion and his thoughts in terms of how the fight can go down. But I actually do think I would lean more towards Khamzat actually getting the finish than not getting the finish in round 1, as crazy as that might sound. But look what he did to Robert Whittaker. Now, DDP from his last fight, and even especially his fight at UFC 285 against Derek Brunson, has surely improved. But so has Khamzat. These are two guys that are not going to take their foot off the gas pedal, that are super devoted, committed to constantly improving and becoming the best fighter possible. So I think both of them are going to come in retooled and improved from the last time we've seen them. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting. All right, now we're going to listen to Michael Bisping break it down. He doesn't actually give a prediction. I wonder if he's going to be at the show or commentating the show or whatnot, but he doesn't give a prediction, at least not the one that I heard in this video. But this is interesting as he breaks down the fight and talks about the matchup.
He's got tremendous grappling of his own. If Khamzat Chimaev thinks that he's going to go out there and just take down Dricus Du Plessis and just choke him out, right, like he's some schmuck, like he doesn't know what he's doing, like he's not someone that choked out an entire black belt jiu-jitsu team one after the other, then I think Khamzat Chimaev will be in for a rude awakening. Now, of course, it's Khamzat Chimaev.
I mean, to say it like, oh, like he's some sort of whatever, I don't think that's a fair assessment. I mean, what are you saying about Robert Whittaker? You say, or like Kevin Holland? I mean, he's not. It's not like what about Li Jingliang? I mean, he's done, and obviously there's other fighters that he fought lower down in the ranks that he did this to. But early on in the career that maybe not so pertinent, obviously, or not relevant in terms of DDP, who's the best in the world. But he's done this over and over. So I don't see that being that far-fetched. On top of it, he nearly did that to Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman was just slick enough, and obviously a collegiate wrestler, an incredible grappler. He was able to withstand the barrage and live to fight another round. And so to say it like that, if you just think you're going to steamroll him, you're crazy. Why? I don't see how that's so crazy. He seems to be able to do this to many, many fighters. But anyways, I digress.
Have moved up to 185 pounds. He's looked phenomenal, okay? The way that he destroyed Robert Whittaker, that was so impressive. And I don't know why he was killing himself on the scales to make 170 in the first place. Remember.
So now he's going into the entire weight cut and how he thinks it might do something for his cardio. But now he goes in and talks a little bit more about the cardio issue. So once again, I'm going to address this cardio issue as false news in a moment, and then we're going to end with a quick discussion of the Derek Brunson fight. I'm not going to show clips because you know how the UFC can be in terms of those claims on their footage, but we're going to talk about it. I'm going to encourage you to rewatch round 1.
But the fact that they've got Dricus Du Plessis as the underdog is insane. The man can wrestle. He's got great jiu-jitsu. He's big for the weight class. And more importantly, he has a gas tank. He has had no problems going 5 rounds. The 2 times Khamzat went to a decision was when he couldn't get the finish in the first or second round. And that's when Gilbert Burns started to take over. That's when Kamaru Usman had a lot of success and settled the score, and it almost came out as a draw. And now it's not 3 rounds, it's 5 rounds.
That's fair, but you have to. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to rebut here. Number one, if it's 5 rounds, you're going to have a different game plan, a different strategy, and a different burn rate for your energy. So I don't think you can say, oh, well, he could barely last 3 rounds. So now 5 rounds, he's going to be dead those last 2 rounds because he spent his gas tank in those 3 rounds. No, obviously, you're going to recalibrate. You're going to reconsider the game plan. Potentially, again, he may go out with an intense pace to try and get the finish in rounds 1 or 2, but I'm sure he'll make adjustments going after those rounds. It's not like he's going to just be a lump on a log for round 4 and round 5. That's, I think, a little bit ludicrous to say something like that. Also, if you remember the Gilbert Burns fight and you listen to his coaching staff, what they said is he did not listen and follow the game plan whatsoever. I know I seem to be making a lot of excuses for Khamzat Chimaev, but this is what they said. And that was a fight years and years ago when he fought Gilbert Burns, and he still won. It's like people talk so negatively, but it's like nobody's looking at a fine-tooth comb with DDP's fight against Robert Whittaker or against these other opponents that he beat and saying, yeah, but look what he did here. He looked a little tired there. It's just like, oh, he got the win. He beat this guy. He beat that guy. But for some reason, the standard is different. For Khamzat Chimaev, even with the victories, people are pinpointing these little minor blips or minor views of minor little glimpses of maybe a potential weakness and saying, yeah, but see, we saw something here. It's just such a double standard. And that double standard exists because of how good Khamzat Chimaev is. Let's be real. That's the situation. Now, when he talked about the Kamaru Usman fight, again, as Mighty Mouse already mentioned, Khamzat was sick in that fight, so his cardio was severely impacted, and he still made it the full 3 rounds to get the decision and nearly finished Kamaru Usman in the first round. So as you can see, to me, I think this is just a false news narrative that continues to get propagated, and I think it's make-believe. But we shall see on August 16th. I do believe he will get the finish in the first 2 rounds, as Darren Till predicted. I don't even think we'll get to see him go 5 rounds. I'm happy with that, though. Let's go, Khamzat. I hope he gets an early finish because that's just going to blow the minds of everybody. Okay, now the last thing I want to talk about is the Derek Brunson fight against DDP. Again, admittedly, this was UFC 285, so this was quite some time ago. I think two plus years ago. I can't remember the exact date. But if you look at that fight, Derek Brunson is a great wrestler. Not the wrestler of Khamzat, not even close, okay? But Derek Brunson is an amazing wrestler and a grappler. And DDP was lighting him up with his awesome, great kickboxing, great kicks, grabs a hold of one of his legs, takes him down, and he kind of maintains top control for a while. He then tries to jump a guillotine, and DDP gets pulls out of it and gets on top, has some control on top for a while. But then Derek Brunson, right after that, gets out of bottom position and gets DDP's back. I'm just saying that if Derek Brunson is able to do all of that, I think it's going to be a totally different story when these guys get into a grappling exchange versus, and you got Khamzat on the other end of that grappling exchange. Now, admittedly, once again, DDP has probably made leaps and bounds in terms of his growth as a fighter since that fight. He talks about how dialed in he is when he trains. He talks about taking notes, reviewing those notes. He is a true student of the game. But I believe Khamzat is as well. I believe Khamzat has a tremendous team around him. I believe he's dialed in. I believe he's committed. He's hungry. He wants to be the best. He's been waiting to be the best and prove that he's the best for years and years. So I think that those two, the growth rate of the two are going to be comparable in terms of, at least in terms of the effort. Now, I don't know what the results will be, but I imagine just because Khamzat seems to have a greater degree of athleticism and sort of like a natural baseline of talent from which he began his MMA career from, I think Khamzat will probably likely even grow a little bit more given their training regimens and whatnot. So I think we're going to see a really spectacular version of Khamzat. I think we're going to see a really spectacular version of DDP. But once again, to reiterate, I believe Khamzat's going to get the job done. But we shall see. We shall see. August 16th, Chicago, United Center. Let's go. I cannot wait for this fight. I cannot reiterate that enough. UFC 319. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Love to hear from you. And thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.